Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing a very much put off video all about my first experience getting my first tattoo. I actually have been planning to do this for ages. I feel like it's taken me forever to actually sort it out. I've actually had all my notes and everything written down from the very first session I had my tattoo, and I've just been waiting till it healed, and then I just kind of, I don't know, the more I thought about it, because it was so much I was going to go into detail, it became more of a chore. So I was putting it off and putting it off, but I thought no, I need to actually sit down with some time and let you guys know how my experience with my tattoo went. So I'll be seeing pictures flitting in and out as I'm talking. I don't have any footage of me actually being tattooed, like any video footage, but I hope this experience video helps you if you're just curious about the design I got or anything like that, or if you maybe you just want to hear a little bit of information before you get your own tattoo done. Yeah, hopefully this helps. Also, I tried to put as much detail as possible as I could, but if you do find like you want to know stuff that I haven't mentioned, feel free to ask me down below. I was going to kind of call this a Q&A, but it's not really, because I didn't ask for anyone to ask questions, but I feel like I've answered or given you enough information, if you know what I mean. So anyway, enough rambling, let's get on to the information. So the very first session I had, I booked it for the 6th of August for a 3-hour session. It didn't start until 12, but it was supposed to start at 11, but she just charged me from when she started, which was good. My first ever experience with the needle going into my arm was actually kind of pleasant, which may sound a little bit sadistic, masochistic, whatever the word is, you know what I'm saying. I can't think of the word off the top of my head, and I can't remember which one is associated with someone enjoying being inflicted with pain. Let me know. But yeah, it was really pleasant with the numbing cream. I had numbing cream, I used the Emla one, and the actual vibrations of the needles kind of actually dulled the fact that I was constantly being probbed by sharp needles. I actually really started to feel more of the pain side of things when the numbing cream wore off. But I will say, even with the numbing cream on, this swirly bit here, I could feel that hurt a bit. So because you're supposed to put numbing cream on, or so I was informed, 3 hours before the session, it wore off a little bit quicker because, as I said, my slot was pushed an hour back to 12 o'clock rather than the 11 o'clock one. So I had about an hour or maybe a little bit more where I could actually really feel the pain of the needle, if that made sense. So just thought I'd give you that information there. So as I mentioned, I used Elmer numbing cream, but when I was getting tattooed with that on, it felt so strange. I don't know how best to describe this other than the fact that it felt like I had some sort of latex glove covering my whole arm, and that the needle was dragging across the latex glove, so I could feel it, but it wasn't bothering me. It just felt a little bit odd that I knew that was happening, but I couldn't necessarily associate it with pain or with actually really feeling it. It was a really weird experience. It tripped me out a bit. Another way I could describe it actually is like just before pins and needles kick in. It's that weird, not quite tingly exactly, but that weird beforehand feel. It's really strange. So most of the time, in terms of the question, did it hurt? My answer would be no. Yes, I could feel it, but most of the time with that numbing cream, I was, I guess, detached from the pain. So my tattoo artist was called Sammy, and Sammy and my mum jinxed it at the last moment. A lot of you may know that I am prone to passing out. I don't do it that often these days, but when I was much younger, I used to always pass out. I had low iron deficiency, all that sort of stuff. I had low iron, whatever. And so I warned her. I said, I pass out, just so you know. Anyway, I was doing really well, and in the last half hour, Mum and Sammy, they must have jinxed it, because I just passed out, flat passed out. It was pretty hot, I will say. At that time we was in a smaller room. There wasn't a window, but the door was open. We had a fan available, but I didn't get the fan on me until I actually passed out, and apparently it was like the longest I was out for, according to my mum. I know you're not supposed to tattoo someone when they're like knocked out or, you know, drunk or whatever, but she should have carried on, because I was so out of it I didn't even realise. Before she realised I'd passed out, she was tattooing me, and mum was like, my daughter's passed out, you gotta stop now. I would be happy if she'd done most of that with me knocked out. Like, that would have been perfectly fine. I wouldn't have had to deal with it, but you know, obviously legal obligations and all that stuff. So yeah, apparently it was the longest I was out for, which is strange because obviously I don't remember any of it. I just remember feeling a bit faint and then waking up with a fan on me, one of my socks off and one of my shoes off, so it was a bit weird. Anyway, I got most of the line work done in about 2.5 hours, so it was pretty good. So by line work, obviously I mean like all the black, the spirals, that sort of stuff, and most of the leaves I think I had outlined, and I think the one thing I was missing really was the key, and then a few leaves that didn't have time to be placed down. But yeah, back to the heat. I actually thought I'd passed out due to the heat slash tattoo combination, but it was really hot. It was hot during August, but in there I didn't necessarily feel the heat, so it was strange. Like, it was a hot room, it was small, but it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. I couldn't really notice it, you know. But yeah, that's really strange because I tend to be temperature sensitive. Like, my body gets kind of trippy when sudden changes happen. I'm really good in the cold, but as soon as it's like a little bit hotter, I'm like, oh my god, I feel sick, I'm gonna pass out, it's too hot, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really strange that I couldn't really feel the heat there, but that must have been a combination of that and the tattoo that made me pass out, I don't know. So this is where my maths may go a bit funny. I'm pretty sure I've got the calculations correctly, but excuse me if I'm a bit out. So Sammy's sessions were £70 an hour, and after paying an initial £70 for the deposit, she let me pay £110 for the first session of 2.5 hours, 3 hours. So for that one session I paid £180. I know people get a bit interested in pricing and stuff, so this is why I'm going through this, rather than the £210. And then I ended up putting the extra £30 on to the deposit for the second session, which I'd need to attend, obviously, because my tattoo wasn't finished in the first session. And I booked another 3-hour session. In terms of where I started with my tattoo, because it's quite, you know, it swirls around my arm, I guess. Like, where do you start? How do you get it like that, you know? We started with the bottom, so for you it would be the top half. So we started with this half first by drawing it out in pen and then tattooed it, and then followed on by drawing the second half and then tattooing that. So that's how we did it. But honestly, she said the pen stayed on my skin quite alright, so she was worried it was going to rub off as I was like twisting my arm and that, but it stayed on alright, so she could have drawn the whole thing out and then gone over and tattooed. But you know, it was precautions she took, and it was a better way, I suppose. So I came out, as most of you know, with half a sleeve for my first tattoo, when initially I had intended it to be half a forearm. But you know, I did take into consideration that in order to get a nice amount of detail on the tattoo, I'd need a considerable amount of size. I just didn't initially think it would be that much. Sorry if I keep going out of focus. I think that the camera's trying to focus on the individual tattoos, so I do apologise if I keep getting a bit blurry. Due to the area and the kind of shapes and designs we were going for, I had to keep in mind that I needed bigger spaces between them because of the size and all that sort of stuff. You know what I'm talking about, I hope. But immediately after the first session, my arm felt quite fine. It felt a little bit maybe stingy or sore. Definitely a little bit tender in certain places, and I could feel as the day went on that it was a little bit itchy, especially because it was wrapped up with pantherm and cling film and it was a hot day. Sometimes during the day I noticed my body felt a little bit on high alert. I was just like, oh my god, what's going on? I think it was just like remnants of adrenaline or something, or if I just gently touched my arm against something I'd be like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just triggered a little bit, so that was strange, just the way my body reacted, I suppose. It's funny actually, because at first the worst part about getting the tattoo done was holding my arm up for ages when she was actually drawing the design down. It ached so bad. You know that means I need to do more arm workouts, because clearly I did not have the strength or energy to hold it there for like, I don't know, half an hour or whatever whilst my arm was being drawn on. It ached so bad. I was like, oh my god, can I put it down please? Just a little tip as well, Lucozade helped a lot, by the way. I totally should have taken a snack with me on the first time, but I don't know, it just didn't cross my mind, I guess. But Sammy did give me some wine gums, so I think that kept me going for a little bit more before I actually passed out. So now I'm going to talk all about the second session. I already know this video is going to be really long. I'm so sorry. I'll try and whiz through it, but I don't want to miss out all the information I'm hoping to give you, so I do apologise. Stay with me guys, stay with me. So the second session was for colour and to finish off and or thicken some of the line work that needed to be continued. I booked that for August the 25th, so that should have been a few days before V-Fest, I think, because I went to V-Fest. Great fun. Got a video about it if you want to watch, I'll link that down below. But I had to rebook that for the 7th of October because I was feeling really ill on the day, I think, and because it was on the day and it was like short notice cancellation, I lost the deposit, and yeah. Actually, I wasn't too bothered about that though, you know, it didn't bother me too much. The second session though was great when I actually had it on the 7th of October. But I paid about 120 I think for about an hour and 40 minutes, almost 2 hours, which, thinking about it now, it was a little bit more than what I paid in the first session, which was like 2.5 hours. So I don't know how that worked out. I don't know if it's because that's why. I think it's because I lost the £30 deposit, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I lost the £30 deposit because I cancelled on the day, so that would have gone towards the money I would have paid for that second session, but because I lost it, I had to pay more on top of that. That's making sense in my head. I hope it makes sense in yours. So on that second session, I had the line work and detail completely finished, and a really big chunk of the colour was done as well. So to me, that was a really successful day. I really enjoyed that. I didn't feel really sick or anything. I think I was over and used to the idea of having a needle like constantly on me. The first session was a bit hit and miss because I was getting used to it, you know, and then obviously I passed out. And then the second session, I was ready for it. I was excited, and it was really, I think it was a good session. In terms of like the healing for these sessions, I only really noticed bleeding after I started getting the colour done. When I went to clean it and stuff, that's when I started seeing like the blood kind of welling up and coming out of my arm. I asked Sammy, my tattoo artist, why that was, and here's a little list of what she gave me as an explanation. So she said that it can be due to the needle going over one area multiple times, due to water intake of the individual, sleep of the individual, and just the person in general. She said it also may seem that there's less blood in the line work because you're working with black ink as opposed to colour, which is a brighter, lighter colour. You can see the blood through that more, if that makes sense. So that was really interesting to know. I thought I'd read it off of that so I give you the correct information that she gave me. I don't know what my hand's doing. And after I had the colour done, I think just because there was more pressure and irritation going on a certain spot for a long amount of time, I definitely felt my arm hot through the process, and afterwards as well it felt quite hot and heated, like all the blood was rushing up to the surface, you know, which I guess it was. But yeah, as I said, it was a really awesome session, that second one. I had crisps and fruit bars and of course my Lucozade, so yeah, it was really good. I had energy, I had, you know, sugar going through my body, what I needed, and yeah, it was just great. Again, I had the same experience where the numbing cream wore off faster than I had expected, again because of a delay in me getting tattooed. Someone booked me in for a time slot. I think they booked me in for 3 o'clock, but she hadn't realised that that was the time. I think it was just miscommunication there. It's not a bad place by any means, I really enjoy the place, but they just miscommunicated there. She was actually doing a tattoo during that time, so she bumped me up to 4 o'clock. Again, I didn't pay until, you know, I was starting being tattooed, but I had to wait around a little bit, and when I wait around in the place that something's happening, I get a little bit anxious, so my levels of anxiety and fear increased a little bit the more I waited, if you know what I mean. Some people might get what I'm talking about. This time, in terms of how the needles felt, I don't want to put anyone off, but again, I'm trying to give you as much information as I can muster. It felt quite similar to the first time with the needles, but this time it also felt like little knives were stabbing me. Again, that is because we were working more on the colour and I was just more aware of individual needles like going into me, if you know what I mean. It was kind of weird, it hurt a bit. And she coloured over the bone, and by bone I mean this bit. So the way she had my arm, it was just on top of that joint there, and it actually felt like my bone was, well, I don't know, because this has never happened to me, but it felt how I would imagine my bone to be shaved would feel. I don't know, it was weird. But at that time, I think the numbing cream was still active. It was just like, it was like I don't know how to describe it. Like, it was vibrating and weird, and like my bone was being shaved. Like, almost if you're in a car or something, a really, like a bus, and your teeth are vibrating. It was like that, so it's kind of, I guess, uncomfortable a little bit, like, can you stop? But it didn't hurt or anything, but I do think my numbing cream was still active at that point. So the colouring of like one particular leaf or whatever felt like it was done much quicker than I thought it would do, but I definitely had a longer peeling time in the healing process of that session. I compared that with when I was just having the line work done. I felt like my peeling stage was over and done like that, but when I had the colour started, it took a lot longer for the peeling process to end. which was a little worrying, but then I kind of went through it in my mind and I thought, okay, that makes sense. It's been irritated again a lot more than the line had been, you know. Oh, and also my arm was only shaved for that first session for the line work. Again, I asked Sammy why, and this is what she said. She said the hairs could interfere with the intricate line work, but doesn't really affect general colouring in, because you're covering, I guess, a bigger space and it's like less precise as, you know, doing the line work and all that sort of stuff. I feel like I'm not showing you my tattoo enough, I don't know. Since we're talking about that, I feel like I'm just chatting and you're not seeing enough of this. So guys, we're almost done. The third and final session, I paid £100 for an hour and 30 minutes. I think I actually have a picture of me being tattooed. I did say I don't have video footage, but I'm pretty sure I've got a picture and I'll place that around somewhere. It had gone quite well until the healing of the last session. Stupidly, something was dropping from my wardrobe, and at the time I had like a sharp angle to my nail, and I caught my nail, I think you might actually still be able to see it, I caught my nail across this bit here, and like a layer of the skin ripped off, if that makes sense. I freaked out a bit, and because I was so like hyped up and like just nervous of me ruining it and potentially having a scar, I kept feeling a little bit faint by the fact that I had done this to my body. I didn't feel faint because of a pain or anything, like it didn't really hurt. It maybe stung a little bit. It was more the fact like, oh my god, I've ruined it, I've only just got it, it's my first one, look what I've done already, I've cut my arm, it's not going to heal, blah blah blah. Luckily I hadn't gone through the actual peeling stage of this. What I don't understand, first of all, is I had cling film on at this point, and it looked like the cling film wasn't cut, but the tattoo underneath the layers of cling film was, which perplexes me. I cannot really comprehend that, but anyway, that's what happened. Shit happens anyway. And yeah, so I didn't luckily go through the peeling stage yet, so in a way I feel like it kind of evened itself out, because that was like the first layer that needed to be peeled, and so it kind of blended in. But you, in my eyes, because I know it's happened, I can still see just a slight, you won't be able to pick it up, but just a slight discoloration, and yeah, I can just notice it because I know it's there, if that makes sense. So yeah, after it did even out, after I think probably a couple of days, it stopped feeling, I guess, kind of tight and uncomfortable, because after I did cut it, even though it didn't hurt, it was a bit taut to move around. I could feel it was struggling to cope with the rest of the movement of my arm. Yeah, as I said, honestly, it didn't scar, to be honest. It made me worried and nervous about the beauty of my arm. I have pictures of these as well, but I found that with this healing process, I did say for me this was the worst healing process I had, not with pain or anything, but just it took so long, and I don't know, I just felt like everything was going wrong. I was always concerned about stuff, but my arm was really dry for this last healing process after that third and last session. On parts of it, it was so tight and dry, it even looked as though it had been burnt at some sort of level. It was that kind of tightness. But in saying that, it was November around this time that I was seeing these signs, and it was really cold, so my skin just was dry generally. And I think it was a combination of me in my sleep scratching at the cling film and the tattoo underneath, like without realising, so that probably irritated it even further. To exfoliation, some cream and like unscented cream and bepanthen helped heal that up as well. So by the way, I do want to show you, this is my bepanthen, I've still got it at the moment. I put it on like irritated areas because it's just like pseudocreme, it's like nappy baby rash stuff. And the cream that I really like for my tattoo, this one here, I think it is kind of scented, it's the Garnier Ultimate Blends Body Soothing Hydrating Lotion. It's just delicate oat with white almond cream, so it was really kind of pure feeling, kind of natural feeling. It's probably full of a load of crap, but it really did soothe and hydrate. It's not very thick, so it was nice and just felt like normal skin as opposed to greasiness of the bepanthen, you know, which was really sticky when I, you know, didn't have my cling film on. Also used Lush's Dream Creams at some stages during the tattoo healing process. I didn't put it directly on after I got tattooed, but when my arm started to feel a little bit more normal, I would put that on my body like normal, and yeah, it felt good. I think I've heard people say that it was quite good for tattoos as well, so that's why I was like, oh well, I've got it anyway, let me try it a little bit. So nothing bad happened, so I guess it was good. Again, I'm not recommending this to anyone. Please ask a professional first if you want to know what to put on your dry tattoo. So overall, I paid for my tattoo £430, including the £30 deposit that I lost during a too late cancellation on the second, well, what would have been the second session. I think that was good because she actually gave me a rough estimate of £400, and it would have been exactly that if I didn't, you know, put that £30 there and lost it. Yeah, very accurate. She knows her stuff. Oh, and I've also got pictures of a shirt I bought, a shirt she gave me, and stickers she gave me for the tattoo place. It's called Vintage Inks, by the way, if you're interested. So yeah, she just gave me a load of this stuff from her old like advertising batches that she wasn't using anymore, so that was really kind of her. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about aftercare now, and then that's me done. So I will shut up speaking in a very short amount of time, I swear. Just hang in there just that little bit longer. So I was told during the first session, due to the hot weather, to leave my arm out of cling film after the 3 hours post tattooing, just because the sweating and all that sort of stuff. I think in her way she was basically explaining that it would not help it being trapped under there, like it needed to breathe in a way, and because it was so hot, the excess sweat of being trapped under a cling film like situation as well wouldn't help. So yeah, as well as that, she told me to just wash it in warm soapy water. I think she got a bit tongue-tied here. She said every 3 hours, 3 times a day, which confused me, so I just did it 3 times a day. I didn't want to overly wash it because then it would dry it out too much, you know, and I thought 3 times a day sounded good enough. For the next 3 days, unless it was still hot, because it was around August time I first started getting the tattoo done, I was to keep it in cling film just so it was protected from, you know, bacteria in the air and all that sort of stuff. Most of the time after each session, honestly, my personal preference was I kept it in cling film for about a week, which was usually when most of the peeling happened. I just felt like it was more protected in that little blanket, I guess, and then I just kept putting bepanthen on it and leaving it without cling film until it was fully healed. Some nights, I think for the first week or 2, if I stopped putting the cling film on during the day, I would most definitely have it on during the night, because that's when I move around a lot and it's rubbing on like dirty bed sheets and that sort of stuff, you know, so I thought it was better to be protected during the night as opposed to the day when I'm more aware of my surroundings and that. When I went back for the other session, she just said to keep caring for it as I had been, because the first session it healed quite lovely, she was saying, so I just kept doing that really. But I was told as well, after she did the key, I was going to go for a silver key, but I went for a gold one in the end. She said with the highlighting, if I felt like I wanted it to be a bit brighter, which you can't really see, I could come back and just have that touched up for free. I didn't in the end because it's bright enough for me, but maybe in the future I might go back and get it touched up if I ever wanted to, but I think it's alright at the moment. Looking back on it now that it's fully healed, I do notice some very minor, again that's because I'm really picky, just splotches that of the green that have just come out of the line, only very slightly. You won't even be able to see, but I noticed one on this leaf particularly. It's only because I'm scrutinising it, I'm looking at it all the time, I'm admiring it, you know, I love it, it's beautiful, and I just noticed little accidents, but it doesn't really bother me. You personally wouldn't be able to see that unless you were staring at it and tugging at my skin, you know, so it's just me being a little bit OCD. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that, and I really hope this video has been interesting or of use to you. If you're getting your very first tattoo done, good luck, hope you love it. I love mine. If you're like a tattoo veteran, if that's the word, let me know how many you've got and what inspired you to get tattoos, why have you got them. If you have a reason, if you don't, that's cool too. I don't really have a reason, I just really love fantasy and nature, and I thought I'd combine that in a leafy key to a hidden kingdom sort of idea. I don't know, it's just mixed emotions going on there, but I love it so much. And yeah, and if you have any other questions that you feel like I haven't really answered clearly or at all, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I'll reply. If there's enough, I might do a Q&A about it. If you're interested in that, let me know. But for now, I will finally let you go. You've been with me for a long time, I really appreciate that. Thanks guys, and I'll speak to you in another video soon. Bye.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear, driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair,